We're doing a track day with DeVolt and Monster, and of course we're meeting Lando and having some fun in the car.
Formula One is known to many as the jewel of motorsport and can be called the Billionaires Club. However, the world of F1 drivers narrates two stories sharply contrasting from each other. There are the elite drivers who grew up with money from wealthy families, and then there are those who weren't so fortunate and had to overcome a lot. So gear up and let us explore the cutthroat competition of the highest possible earnings from those who were born into a racing family compared to ones who started the race from scratch.
Very normal. I mean, the cars are same, people are same story.
I just want to clear up, you're racing for, because I'm a bit lost with Lotus. Yeah. You're racing for Lotus Renault.
Yeah.
Kimi Raikkonen. Today, the Russian star of Formula One Grand Prix is thinking about his latest luxury yachts and ever-increasing car racing victories. It may be intriguing to take a look at his early life. Born in a small house in Finland, even the family's greenhouse that his great-grandfather had built did not even have basic utilities, such as piped water and a bathroom. The updated luxurious life was quite the opposite when he was living in a forest inhabited by bears and wolves, to be precise. Real quick, if you're enjoying this content and want more insights like this, hit subscribe and help us reach these topics to a wider audience. Thank you for the support. Now, let's jump right back in. However, it still needs to be clarified what kind of upbringing Kimi had, but a passion for speed emerged in him at a very young age. He was only 3 and rode a motocross bike around the neighborhood, as small as it was. Because of his lack of money to buy proper equipment, his father made him a go-kart, and he became passionate about racing. However, for competitive karting, they needed to incur expenses, a certain amount of which was financially burdensome to the family.
We all know he's a good driver and he's in a good team now, and what comes to youngest and oldest, it's happened to be like that, but I raced against his father, so that's actually sounds even more scary. So.
Kimi's father had to work 3 jobs to earn enough money to buy the necessary equipment and race, even using a van as an office for race weekends. His sacrifices were rewarded when Kimi started achieving success in nationwide and global arenas, thus attracting sponsorships that would see him move to Formula One. Today, he is one of the sport's most highly regarded drivers, an example of tenacity who has risen through the ranks.
He's free to have a party tonight, and then hopefully Kimi and myself have the party tomorrow.
Well, Kimi parties all the time, so I guess.
Lando Norris. This is at the other end of the spectrum. Norris, a driver who was born and raised in supreme affluence, growing up in a family with over 200 million pounds of wealth, Lando's father, a pensions director, gave his son everything to succeed at what he wished to do. He tried motorcycle riding, horse riding, and many other minor sports, but he only started karting at the age of 7. Because his father was extremely wealthy, he didn't have to deal with the difficulties that other drivers such as Kimi might have to face. However, Lando could afford to take on several karting championships at a time, and train himself without worrying about money.
I'm a little bit nervous because it's my first hot laps on this track in Silverstone, and it's a pretty fast McLaren. But I'm excited about going in the car with Lando, and we can share some skills, but he's definitely going to be faster, otherwise something wrong.
The funniest thing is when I get scared but my passenger doesn't.
That's a good
Look, and I myself and they think it's all under control and I'm like, oh, I can almost crash there.
After graduating from several karting championships, Lando easily moved to a single-seater racing. By 2019, his talents and earnings led him to a seat at McLaren. His rise didn't involve hardships because of his family's wealth, but his performance on the track won him respect, making sure that privilege does not rule out merit.
He has an idea about how to drive. Probably more of an idea.
I don't know about that, but...
Any drifting lessons. How many laps are we doing?
As many as we want. Yeah.
Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon's Formula One story is the most famous rags to riches story in motorsport history. Raised in a humble environment in northern France, his parents ran a car repair shop. This was especially true when they decided to fund his karting passion at the age of 7. At first, the boy was just gifted and was destined to become one of the legends of the track. However, the material component of the sport affected the family's finances to the point of a financial crash. Eventually, he had a difficult decision made for him when his parents sold their house and garage to pay for him and his career, and they had to live in a caravan for several years. Every race turned into a life or death situation. For Esteban, it was no longer a personal fight for fame and money, but a fight for the family that has invested everything into him. The breakout was in 2011 when he joined the company called Gravity Sports Management, which gave him sufficient funding to continue his passion. Today, Ocon is an example of a man who refused to be cowed by fate and who had his family's support. Lance Stroll. Having grown up as a boy with a silver spoon in his mouth, Lance's father, Lawrence Stroll, is a billionaire beyond any imagination. Given an entire racetrack and car collection valued at more than $180 million, Lawrence no doubt loved motorsport and everything related to it, including his son. The door to Lance's driving career opened with the best equipment and best opportunities money could afford. His father gave $60 million to the Prima racing team before Lance joined Formula 4 and provided his son with a top-of-the-range kit. After scoring impressive victories in F4 and more in Formula 3, Lance skipped Formula 2 altogether, a move normally reserved for only electric talents such as Max Verstappen. However, this jump only was made possible by an $80 million donation to the Williams team, leading to Lance's debut in 2017. Subsequently, Lawrence bought the Racing Point F1 team, now known as the Aston Martin seat, for Lance, thereby ensuring a driving future for his son. Fernando Alonso. Many consider Fernando Alonso one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time, though he struggled to achieve fame. Cortez's parents had ordinary jobs to earn a living. His father was a shaft explosives mechanic and his mother worked at a department store. Fernando's passion for racing started when his father built him a go-kart that his older sister once played with but had no interest in using. It ballooned early, and by the age of 5, Fernando was hooked. However, he could not afford good racing equipment, so his mother stitched his racing suits, and his father did all the mechanical work on the car. As we expected, despite a low-resource team, Alonso's skills really shone. For instance, in his student days, he competed in the rain with slick instead of wet tires because his family could not afford wet tires. Another local owner of a karting track saw his ability and negotiated sponsorships that enabled him to progress in the ladder of the racing career. At present, the story of Alonso had become an example of how talent can beat financial constraints. The contrast between the income of the richest and that of the poorest F1 driver are indeed very sharp. Drivers like Kimi Raikkonen, Esteban Ocon, and Fernando Alonso need determination to overcome their circumstances. They have succeeded through hard work, family sacrifice, and God-given talent at the extremes. However, drivers such as Lando Norris and Lance Stroll are examples of the benefits of money. Their wealth guaranteed them a chance to avoid numerous challenges that other budding competitors face by providing them with adequate funding to concentrate on the development of their talents. They are clearly talented, but their backgrounds make it difficult for their narratives not to include their privilege. Formula 1 is a sport of contrast, and even in racing cars, the lives of drivers are full of extremes. Whether you came to Hollywood from poverty and virtually nothing, or if you were born with a silver spoon, all the celebrities fit into this beautiful and fast-paced grid. However, it depends on which race. Every driver comes with their journey, and thus F1 is a real mix of tough, tricky race car heroes.